Welcome back to Philippines Uncut. I'm Buddy Corana. Tonight's topic is manufacturing trends. And joining us still are Lyndon Alarcon, President of the Production and Operations Management Association of Philippines, assisted by his very hardworking Executive Vice President, Norman Camongol.
Yay.
Welcome back, gents, for our second segment.
Yep.
You know, I have to tell you guys that when I first thought about this topic, manufacturing, I thought that, you know, what can we talk about for an hour? But there's actually so much to discuss.
Right.
And we actually ended our first segment by talking about let's say, companies locating the Philippines and making an investment in the country and not being able to pull out that easily. But, you know, I wanted to ask you gents a question. We always hear about how China is the manufacturer of the world. It's the production center of the world. We always hear about companies closing the States, closing here, closing everywhere, closing in Japan, and moving to China. How is this affecting manufacturing here? Is the China card a threat to manufacturing in the Philippines? Because if more people move from here to China, that's less jobs, less GDP for us, and less economic growth, absolutely.
Yep.
Oh, okay, I'll answer that. Okay, I agree with you. During the time, the early 2000s, a lot of companies did move out of the Philippines, not only in China, but went to Thailand, went to Vietnam, because the taxes there were lower, the land rates were lower, the salaries were lower. Okay, so there were a lot of things lower there.
Which is the deciding factor? You said tax, land, labor cost. Is labor cost the most important
Actually, no.
factor?
It was mostly taxes, duties and taxes.
Really?
Yeah.
Not labor cost.
Second is labor cost.
Okay. And I always assumed that it was labor cost. That's why people moved to Vietnam, to China, to Cambodia even.
Thailand basically has more or less the same labor cost as we do. So how come people are, you know, we did ask the question, why companies are moving off to Thailand, for instance. They have the same labor cost as we do.
Yes, yes.
It turns out that it's more of you got a better supply of, say, sugar or cassava starch powder there, and rather than shipping it to the Philippines, which would cost more, the cost is less.
Okay, but let me allow you to continue your story. So in the early 2000s, you said that companies were moving to all these other places, and then?
Okay. Mostly to China, because China was offering lower labor costs, very low, easier duties, easier. They were located in these industrial zones where they pay almost no taxes at all.
No unions as well.
No unions, right?
Right.
Can we do that here?
No.
It's fine. But you know that as around January or February of this year, Japanese manufacturers are starting to slowly look for land in the Philippines, looking for places to put up.
So what is our competitive advantage? If there is still an opportunity for us to present ourselves as a manufacturing base. That's what you're telling me. Right. For what kind of products? I mean, obviously not low end like RTW or clothing or that kind of thing.
Our the basic competitive advantage in the Philippines is people. The teachability of our workforce. The Chinese workforce, according to what we've gathered from our side, is not as teachable as we are here.
Yeah.
When companies come here and they teach us how their techniques work, it's like just 1 week or 2 weeks later, we are operating the systems just like what we're operating them for maybe 10 years.
So you're saying is the labor cost, the labor advantage of a country like China or maybe Vietnam is offset here by the efficiency of our worker. Are you saying the Filipino worker is more efficient? Is that what ProMat's position?
That is one.
Okay.
And of course, the quality consciousness of Filipinos, I believe, is more. When they do products,
yes.
when they manufacture, when they work.
Okay.
They actually work with assuring the product is an outstanding one.
Okay.
So
Let's
that's,
talk
I
about
think,
your product
right.
per se, this one, okay?
Sure.
And you said that your company makes this in the entire, in the system of, that this machine represents, your company makes this component.
Right.
Okay. Now, why doesn't your company make this component in China? Why here? I mean, it doesn't look that complicated to make. So
Okay.
tell me.
Okay. Actually, we have also a factory in China.
Okay.
We also have one.
Okay.
And what they're doing there is not exactly the same as ours. Although that means they're also manufacturing nasal mask, but not the same as what we're manufacturing here.
Why not?
First, if I may add, why
Please.
Why companies now are slowly
Going back.
going back to the Philippines, because maybe
Going back,
right? Going back,
to the
coming back to the
Philippines.
Philippines.
So they pulled out, went to China or Thailand or
Right.
wherever, and now
And
they're
now-
coming back here.
right.
There is,
Wow.
yes.
Maybe they have realized that it's not good to have all your eggs in one basket. Imagine if all of the companies are in China, right? And by the way, why they moved there is for strategic purpose. Imagine how big is the market there, right? 1.2 billion Chinese.
Why are they moving back? I mean, aside from not keeping their eggs in one basket, there must be another reason why these guys are moving back.
Well, that is one, right? They don't want that. They don't want to affect their manufacturing facilities whenever there's a problem in one location, right? So that's one. Number two is, why Philippines? Well, just like what Norman said, it's efficiency. We are more efficient. We are more teachable, and we are quality conscious people. And I think what another thing is, we can be depended on, especially on intellectual property.
Okay.
Well, that's my own opinion.
No.
That's
Very
my own
true.
opinion.
No, compared to other countries in the
Right.
region, yes, of course.
And
Okay, let's talk about the support that government is giving the manufacturing sector. Now, you guys from ProMap, what are the, okay, let's say you could have a wish list from President Aquino, and what would your wish list contain? Let's say top 3 or top 5 items.
Okay, first on the list,
Yeah.
better infrastructure. Roads, the farm to market roads, everything has to be world class. Everything, a lot of
Power, electricity.
utilities as well, communications.
How are you guys getting hammered? Okay, let me just go here because we're covering so many topics. Let's say, how are you guys getting hammered by the high cost of power in the Philippines? Because as you know, the Philippines has the highest energy cost in Asia, perhaps even among the highest in the world. So how is this affecting?
okay. For us, we're fortunate that we're operating inside the PESA zone, and we're given the incentive of around 30% lower than what they offer.
Really?
Right.
Well, I want to move there. I want to live in a PESA zone.
We were just last month. We were given that increase, but we normally pay only around 4.50 something per kilowatt hour.
Yes.
But right now, we're paying around 5.9. That's the increase. But imagine if you're outside the PESA zone, you are paying 30% more.
Yes, no,
So-
brutal.
Right.
Okay, how come you guys are paying less? It's subsidized by the government? It's being subsidized by the Philippine government.
It was actually an arrangement between the industrial zones and the generating station.
Okay.
And if you
okay.
meet this demand, then we can offer you much lesser.
Okay.
And the whole industrial zone, when they combine all
the
the
demand
consumption,
must be huge, and some of them 24 hours, no?
Right.
24 hours non-stop.
24/7.
Two,
Even
3
24/7.
shifts.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Norman, continue with your wish list. Okay, that was number
Okay,
1.
First of all, it's infrastructure and utility. Infrastructure would also include utilities,
Okay.
better quality water, especially for the food manufacturers. Power, of course, not just cheaper power, but stable power, clean power. We do have problems with our power being unstable.
Okay, continue.
Next would be stable, stable fiscal policies. See, a lot of manufacturers, if we go to the bottom of it, a lot of manufacturers don't mind the taxes if they're a bit high. Not too high, but just a bit high. They just don't want it changing every so often.
Predictability.
Correct.
Okay.
They want, you see, in manufacturing, we need to be able to plan 3, 4, 5 years ahead. And we can't do that if our costs change all of a sudden,
Right.
in midstream.
I mean, like any business, I mean, government policy, the predictability or the the stability of government policies is really number one or up there in the list, in the priority list of investors, because it makes it easier for you guys to plan.
Correct.
Medium and long-term planning. And it's very difficult to do that if you're not sure this administration says this, and then the next administration might go in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
Right? It's very difficult.
Yeah, that's true. We found that I personally I joined ProMap in 2000. So from that point all the way to now, I've seen the changes in administration, and it affects the policies of when the administration changed policy midstream, and a certain company is doing its 5-year program. It does affect the way they do business. They have to start back from zero. They have to modify some certain things. They can't expand. They cannot improve here. They cannot do research and development. Some cases they have to stop their production, primarily because for some reason they were not able to meet the new fiscal policies, and they have to stop operations. Just to be on, just be on the safe side. They don't want to be bankrupt.
Yeah. Lyndon, the current administration has been in power for almost 2 years.
Yep.
2 years, well, practically next month. How has been the support of this administration been for the manufacturing sector? You guys, is it better than, let's say, the last 2 or 3 administrations? How do you, what is the sentiment of the manufacturing community?
Okay. Being inside the PESA zone, I think, and we are 100% exporting our products to the U.S., to our parent company. I think the main advantage for us is having PESA with us. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority, under the leadership of Miss De Lima. Is it Laila?
Yes,
Laila De Lima. Yeah. So it makes our transaction with them a lot easier.
Because they are kind of semi-autonomous, right?
Right,
I mean, they have their own regulations. They are self-governing,
Right.
in many ways.
Right.
So, in that sense, you're saying that you are more or less insulated from any shocks that a change in policy would have.
Right. Even the leadership. Right. So that's our main advantage, being inside the zone.
Okay.
And for us manufacturers, especially for us, which is 100% export, right? They have this one-stop shop, wherein all the transactions that you need with them is there, and the support is 24 hours.
Wow, really?
Wow, really? Yeah.
There's a hotline, and let's say if there's a problem in the zone, you have a problem with something in the zone, you just pick up the
delivery,
phone.
right?
Someone is on
24
duty.
hours, right?
Impressive.
The zone manager is on call, and ready to.
See, a lot of people
address
don't know
anytime.
this, huh? When you say PESA, people don't. I mean, because you guys have your own community, and
Yes.
people don't know about this thing. That the efficiency that's been going on in PESA.
Actually, what if we can mutate Miss Laila De Lima, and for her to handle the other,
Replicate, right? The efficiency,
Replicate.
the excellence that PESA has done over so many years in other government departments. Then,
wow, that means that it's easy for us to attract more investors coming in.
what about people or let's say companies that invest not in PESA zones, but let's say outside? Because you guys, because all your products are 100% for export. That is the main draw of PESA. I think that you guys are allowed to sell a little bit for local market, but but majority for outside. I mean, because in Subic and Clark, there was that arrangement before.
Right,
like
right,
locators could sell a little bit to the local market, but majority, predominantly, was for
export.
export. But
Right.
for PEZA, same. Is it the same?
Same, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, around 75%, 25%.
Okay.
75% export and 25% local,
Okay.
so domestic. So
Okay. What about those who are the companies who are operating outside PEZA? Because you guys are the lucky ones.
yeah, right.
Let's say companies who are operating for the domestic market.
Mhm.
What is the feeling of these people? Because PEZA, as you said, kind of insulated from changes, but those who are, let's say, like operating outside and who have to deal with changes in policy, changes in government direction and focus, what is the feeling there?
Basically, the feeling there is that they're left alone, and they get the feeling there is that they get blamed if the economy is not moving, and they don't get any credit if the economy is moving.
But what about support, government support? Is the government focused on manufacturing, helping manufacturers, become more competitive, helping them, expand their business maybe?
Let's put it this way: manufacturing, as it is, it's not a high-profile industry. It's not a high-profile sector. It's pretty low-key, and most of the support of government is in the marketing of the products after they're manufactured. Not so much of support with regards to, say, import liberalization for industrial equipment. We talk about liberalization of imports with regards to retail products. Yeah, there's a lot of noise about that, but nothing about industrial equipment that would allow our manufacturers to be more competitive in terms of quality, in terms of volume, okay, quality and quantity for the world market.
I think shall we say, the problem for most companies supplying locally or domestically, maybe those things that we are enjoying might not be enjoyed by them. For example, if they deal with some government organizations, well, maybe red tape is there.
Of course.
Lots of red tape.
Under
Corruption.
the table,
You
right?
say it, there is corruption in any government, yes.
And that could somehow be the detriment of those companies, right? Dealing with some company government agencies that are not really honest in what they do, right?
Yes.
So that could be one. And of course, if we are enjoying 30% much lower rate inside the PEZA zone, they're not, right?
Yeah.
They don't. So something that maybe that's additional cost for them.
Of course. Now, moving forward in the future, what are the manufacturing prospects for the Philippines? In which areas can the Philippines play a major role in manufacturing? Or in which industries, in which manufacturing sectors or industries can the Philippines be a viable base in the future?
Food, for one. Because the reason for that is because we are an agricultural nation, and we have a lot of agricultural products readily available in the Philippines. So what the manufacturers just need to do is to locate themselves in the middle of those agricultural farmlands. They don't need to go out, import a lot of stuff, a lot of raw materials, because the raw materials are already there. They just need good roads going to ports, good roads going to airports or to the harbor to ship out their products.
What about high-tech goods?
Well, high-tech, it depends on if the process itself is high-tech, then you would need high-tech equipment. For example, in the production of, say, jewelry, mass-produced jewelry, you don't need really high-tech equipment. But in the production of, say, electronics, yes, you do need that, because you need to be precise in the manufacture of these things.
Yes. Lyndon, before we go, would you like to say some words to the viewers in behalf of ProMap?
Oh, okay. For ProMap, This is an organization where for manufacturers to take advantage of that our organization is a venue for any manufacturing concerns. Just like we want to be of service to the Philippine manufacturing sector. PROMAP would like to be known by all by many manufacturing companies in the Philippines, and we are open to any. Well, we can be contacted anytime, so that we can discuss what PROMAP can offer to your respective companies.
Thank you very much, Lyndon. Thank you very much, Norman. And we've run out of time, but we'll surely have another show about manufacturing, and we'll cover the entrepreneur side of it. So thank you very much, gents. See you guys in my future shows.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
everybody.
buddy. Thank you very much.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's show on manufacturing and learned a lot from our friends from PROMAT. Join us again here next week on Philippines Uncut, where we talk about what matters to you, because you matter the most. See you next week.
Companies are moving off to Thailand, for instance. They have the same labor costs as we do.
Yes, yes.
It turns out that it's more of you got a better supply of, say, sugar or cassava starch powder there, and rather than shipping it to the Philippines, which would cost more. The cost is less.
Okay. But let me allow you to continue your story. So in the early 2000s, you said that the companies were moving to all these other places, and then?
Okay, mostly to China, because China was offering lower labor costs.
We always hear about companies closing in the States, closing here, closing everywhere, closing in Japan, and moving to China. How is this affecting manufacturing here? Is the China card a threat to manufacturing in the Philippines? Because if more people move from here to China, that's less jobs, less GDP for us, and less economic growth. Absolutely.
Yep.
Oh, okay, I'll answer that. Okay, I agree with you. During the time, the early 2000s, a lot of companies did move out of the Philippines, not only in China, but went to Thailand, went to Vietnam, because the taxes there were lower, the land rates were lower, the salaries were lower. Okay, so there were a lot of things lower there.
Which is the deciding factor? You said tax, land, labor cost. Is labor cost the most important?
Actually, no.
Factor
It was mostly taxes, duties and taxes.
Really?
Yeah.
Not labor cost.
Second is labor cost.
Okay. And I always assumed that it was labor cost. That's why people moved to Vietnam, to China, to Cambodia even.
Thailand basically has more or less the same labor cost as we do. So how come people are, we did ask the question, why.
Welcome back to Philippines Uncut. I'm Buddy Corona. Tonight's topic is manufacturing trends, and joining us still are Lyndon Alarcon, President of the Production and Operations Management Association of Philippines, assisted by his very hardworking Executive Vice President Norman Camongol. Welcome back, gents, for our second segment.
Yep.
I have to tell you guys that when I first thought about this topic, manufacturing, I thought that what can we talk about for an hour? But there's actually so much to discuss.
Right.
And we actually ended our first segment by talking about let's say, companies locating in the Philippines and making an investment in the country and not being able to pull out that easily. But I wanted to ask you gents a question. We always hear about how China is the manufacturer of the world. It's the production center of the world.